how do you overcome weak mall traffic? I know you are converting better in your stores. How do you overcome this? Because I feel as though a lot of retailers are being overtaken by the very weak mall traffic.
Yeah, I think it's by engaging with consumers where and when they want to engage. For us, it hasn't been about, geez, retail is sick, we're a retailer and therefore we're going to suffer. It's been first and foremost about understanding that we're a brand, that we have emotional connections with consumers and that we create those connections through first and foremost great product, obviously through how we engage with them in our stores, but also through how we engage with them through all of our communications and through our digital channels, whether it be our own direct channel or third-party channels, of course, through social media or retail partners that we have not only here in the US but globally. All of those impressions go into, of course, consumers creating an emotional connection with us that hopefully leads to then conversion. Again, that could be through our direct stores, brick and mortar, or digital, or across the world, if you will, through distribution partners, department stores and select stores and the like. And I think that that's served us well, is being very focused on innovating and ensuring that those connections are relevant and that they're in the modern context, very much as you've discussed in terms of seeing Stuart's modern vision for what the brand is. And what you see today, obviously, will continue to evolve and will be different tomorrow and in future seasons ahead. That's vital for our long-term success.
You know, what do your retail partners have to do, I guess, in the department stores? What do they have to do to innovate in the future, get people through the door? And if you closed a lot of doors, 25% of the doors, you've cleaned up your distribution channel, what should a future department store look like, or even a mall for that matter, to get people more in there?
I think it's about engagement, right? I mean, you have to have a reason for consumers to be there that goes beyond convenience and price. If it comes down to convenience and price, there are other channels today digitally, especially, that are obviously playing that game much, much more effectively. So you have to provide content, again, whether it be product, whether it be experience, whether it be engagement with a real life human being who can help you solve your need at that moment, sometimes even find needs you didn't know you have through a conversation.
So is it better just staffing up? Is it staffing up in, let's say, a department store?
It's not just numbers, it's about the type of staff. It's about, in certain cases, what F&B may exist or other experiences in store. It's about brand mix. It's about constant innovation in product experience, marketing, that I think keeps consumers believing that there's a reason to go there. If it is simply about, I need item X and I need it fast and I need it the cheapest way I can get it, we know that there are players out there today that do that incredibly effectively without you needing to get into your car and visit a mall.
What did Wall Street get wrong coming off the last earnings call? I know you talked about Kate Spade. I'll just toss it out to you.
We've had an amazing year. You have a year where we saw for the 4 straight quarters, and indeed the 5th consecutive quarter of positive comps here in North America. You had a year where our first acquisition, Stuart Weitzman, saw a double-digit growth. You also had, of course, at the end of the year, us acquiring the Kate Spade brand and closing on that deal, and we're very excited about what that means. And in essence, you see what we have envisioned for quite some time in terms of transformation. First and foremost, a very successful landing and transformation, continued transformation of the Coach brand, and now continuing to innovate on that and engage with consumers. And Coach Inc. transforming from this single brand to a much more diversified multi-brand platform that will allow us to provide sustainable growth, both top and bottom line, to our shareholders. So we're excited about what the future holds. In terms of how the last quarter was perceived, and especially potentially how our guidance was perceived, we're being very prudent. We've talked a lot about the change, a couple of areas of change that we're going to drive within the Kate Spade brand. We're incredibly excited about the opportunity for growth, but we also did discuss the need in the short term to cut back in a couple of areas, specifically the flash sales model, as well as the third-party disposition channel, discount wholesale channel, that we believe are vital steps necessary to allow for the sustainable long-term growth that we want to provide our shareholders.
Is it taking what you did with Coach and applying that same blueprint to Kate Spade?
I think there's a certain part of it that is the same. If those 2 steps are not unlike some of the steps that we took in Coach that are about developing and maintaining a healthy brand. And I think that from that perspective, yes, but saying that, Kate Spade has its own very unique identity, which we believe is very much incremental to the Coach and Stuart Weitzman propositions that we have. It's a completely different brand attitude. It's a brand that is focused on being fun, fashionable, and feminine, and holds leadership position in those three attributes, not only here in the US, but also in the international markets where it's active today, which is different than Coach's positioning and different than Stuart Weitzman's positioning. And we think as well that they bring us a very strong, overwhelming leaning into the millennial consumer. Over 60% of their consumers are millennials, very much higher proportion than the Coach or Stuart Weitzman brand. And in addition, it's a brand that still has a relatively low unaided awareness, both here in the US relative to the Coach brand, as well as in Japan, its second most important market, and indeed the second most important handbag market in the world, which means growth opportunity for us as we develop awareness, as we continue to innovate around that brand and give it the distribution strength that we know we can provide it.
Speaking of growth opportunity, China, I've watch China and Coach grow hand in hand. I mean, as CEO of the company, have the risks changed to doing business in China? Given everything that we've seen, I don't know, past month or two on the geopolitical scene, how do you think about that business 5-10 years out?
There's difficult to guess or to try, I think, and drive a business based upon what may or may not happen from a geopolitical or macro perspective. Over our personal 20-year experience dealing directly with Japan, China, and the overall Asian market, and a lot of international experience for us and for our team, quite successful long-term experience. We've seen ups and downs. We've seen obviously exchange rate fluctuations. We've seen geopolitical tensions that lead to differences in flows in tourists or changes in perception. I think these tend to be moments in time. Where we have a tremendous amount of optimism and confidence is obviously always, again, keeping an eye on the long term. And there's no doubt that the long-term opportunity for us and for the category in China is very, very substantial. I like to think of it as boundless. You've got a country with a population of 1.3 billion that of which still about half is rural and is urbanizing. You've got a very strong retail infrastructure. You've got a very fast growing middle class. And you've got a consumer that is very much engaged in fashion, and that today, thanks to technology and the power of obviously the web and especially mobile technology, is very engaged globally. And so as we invest in fashion like we are here today, and as we talk about Fashion Week, they're getting that news immediately, and we're able to engage with that consumer in a much more effective way than we were even just 10 years ago when we first started on that journey. So very excited about the Chinese opportunity.
Lastly, and what's the one accessory that you just can't leave the house with? I'm guessing you're traveling all over the place. What's your go-to?
I'm a big proponent in man bags. I've got a we see the Asian customer being very comfortable carrying his duffel or his tote or his backpack. Increasingly, we're discovering that the American male is discovering his fashion side, if you will, and comfort in carrying a bag. And I don't leave home without my Coach bag.
Fair enough. Well, good luck this coming holiday season. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.